Messed up. Damn. I done messed up. I'll fix it. I'll find a way to fix it. Anywho, hold on, y'all. Hey YouTube. I'm back again with another live video. This is I am Cash. Well, Damien, we also know as Cash and Maxine. And I am back with another Kashmere read session where we will be reading. Um, Hold on. We will be reading The True Story of Florence Ballard by her sister Maxine Precious Ballard. Where did I even put that book at? Oh, here it go. I'm not even on camera. Hold on. This book right here, if y'all can see it, that is Florence Ballard. In my background. And once again, this is a true story of Florence Ballard by Maxine Precious Ballard, from rags to riches and back to rags. We are starting with we are continuing on with part one, and this is actually part two video, but this is part one in the book. After we read the introduction yesterday, the Brewster Projects. I was the eighth of 15 in my family. Flo, Blondie, as her family called her, was the ninth of 15. Okay, so Maxine is older than Florence, and in the Tammy Terrell book, Timmy was older than her sister. Okay, I was the ninth of 15, born just 11 months. Hold on, let me read that over. I was the eighth child of 15 in my family. Flo, Blondie, as our family called her, was the ninth of 15, born just 11 months after me. Blondie was a perfect picture of a beautiful little girl. She had the most striking curly blonde hair. Oh, my throat hurt. Next to her, I paled in comparison. I had freckles and was tall and skinny for my age. In fact, much of the time, I resembled a long beanpole. I always wore overalls with one broken strap that hung off my shoulder. Damn, there ain't no cold water in here. My throat is killing me. Hold on. This word probably high. All right, that should work. Mm. Yeah, that word high. Anyhow, I remained a tomboy until I became a teenager. By contrast, Blondie always wore dresses, even though we were quite poor. Blondie always found a dress to wear. She wore her hair combed back because it was long and blonde. I didn't care how my hair looked as long as it was combed. As a result, the entire neighborhood dubbed us Blondie and Dagwood. Our differences didn't end with appearance either. Blondie was always the mischievous one, starting fights with kids when he knew she didn't have a chance of winning. Blondie used to spit on kids she didn't like. This always made me so mad because the kids would try to beat her up, but Blondie wasn't worried. She knew that I wasn't about to let anybody put their hands on her. Mom and Daddy raised us to take up for each other. You had better watch out for Blondie and Dagwood. So, all right, I got a feeling that this book is much like the Tammy. I was about to say Terrence Howard. I'm sorry. This book is much like the Tammy Terrell book. How although it's supposed to be about Florence Ballard, just like the Tammy Terrell book was supposed to be about Tammy Terrell, majority of this book is also going to be about the sister adding her 2 cents and sharing some of her life experiences since she says she was close to Florence Ballard. Okay. I was always taken up for her, mainly because Blondie was so outspoken. If she didn't like you, she would let you know it, and then all hell would break loose. Blondie never had a very good insight on people. I would try to tell her that her so called friends were the ones she needed to keep an eye on. Blondie always tried to be for real with people. There was never anything phony about her, and she stayed this way throughout her life. Flo would take up for me in her own way. For example, once when we were out playing with our friends, the rag I had pinned on my the rag I had pinned to my underwear fell to the ground. I was menstruating, and since we didn't have money for feminine protection products, we would pin a rag to our underwear. The An old strategy my mother brought with her to the north from Mississippi. On this particular day, I thought the rag I had pinned to my underwear was secure, but I was wrong. When my rag fell out, everyone stopped running and looked at me in shock. Oh, wow. This is a personal story that I wouldn't have put in the book, but anywho. I felt so embarrassed that I just wanted to fade from the scene. Flo broke the silence by saying, "What's everybody looking at? That's not hers. We don't know where that bloody rag came from." At that point, Flo and I began to run without a second glance behind us. I'm not going to say any names, but I had a friend I helped out who had a situation. And the crazy thing about it is, of course, I have women in my family. I'm always around. I was always around my sister, my female cousins, and stuff. And I did my own reading because there was a lot of things in the nurse office, and I stayed in the nurse office. So of course, I did a lot of reading. So I knew about certain stuff. And a friend of mine who was female had a little accident, and I ended up whispering and letting her know because I didn't want any of the other kids laughing at her and teasing her because she had a little stain in her pants. Anywho, we were just 2 blocks from home, and I decided that this was a good time to tell Flo that Mama wanted us to help Grandma clean the kitchen up before she began making her biscuits. Excuse me. I want. Excuse me. I want some biscuits now. I knew damn well that if we went anywhere near the kitchen while Grandma was in there, we would get the worst butt whooping of our life. On our way home, I thank Flo for coming to my rescue and sparing me from further embarrassment. I was often caught fighting her battles, but she was always trying to protect me from harm. Flo was the kind of person who took care of everyone. Was never the kind of person. I mean, I'm sorry, Flo was the kind of person who took care of everyone, never selfish, and always trying to help those persons whom she thought needed someone to lean on. Where were her so called friends when she needed their understanding and support? I always felt like Flo was some kind of hero because she was smart and aggressive. We both got good grades in school and a pat on the back from our parents. Her friends would always rely on her to be Johnny on the spot for them. Flo was always ready to put the needs of others before her own. I think she did things for some that she should have done for herself. Okay. So, like I said, majority of this book probably is going to be about Florence Ballard, but of course, the sister is going to add some of her life stories as well, similar to what Tammy Terrell's sister did to clear up some rumors and stuff that other books, documentaries, and furthermore have written or said. I need to get back to that Tammy Terrell book. I got so many books. Jesus. Well, I'm gonna actually have to do a video once again showing y'all all the books and CDs and stuff I got. With 15 children in our family, going hungry for dinner was not an unusual occurrence. My father worked at an auto factory for General Motors, but barely made enough money to feed us. Realistically, there were just too many of us, and my father did the best he could. My mother was a sweet person who gave her all to raise our children. We always had a clean house and a big pot of beans or collard greens without meat waiting for us when we got home from school. As a result, we were constantly visiting friends' homes for dinner. My father worked 5 days a week. Although we was hard working, we was also. I mean, he was. Although he was hard working, he was also an alcoholic. I guess you could say he was a weekend alcoholic though, because he only drank on the weekends. My father's drinking worried me a lot as a child because I would often see him rolled out of his so-called buddies' cars after they had got him drunk and stripped his pockets of all his money. I mean, well, I can't say my father, well, pretty much my stepfather, ever went through that. I mean, I have seen him drunk before on many occasions, and I've seen family drunk and whatever else. I've been around him, heard stories, but anyway, I can't say that I have experienced seeing a parent drunk and money being stolen from him. Absolutely not. You would have got your ass whooped doing something like that. And I says because I like to read stories, and most of the time I'll take a break and share where I can relate. But yeah, I can't say that I've seen anybody drunk and money was taken from them. Not that I remember, if it ever did happen. Flo and our father share one unfortunate circumstance. Both felt that they could end their problems with the excessive drinking of alcohol. I have no idea what kind of problems my father could have had, but I'm sure that he had plenty. Dad used to call Flo the flying red horse. I am perplexed to understand how Flo could have turned to alcohol to help cope with the pain in her life after spending so much of our childhood observing our father's habitual indulgence of alcohol on his many weekend binges. As children, Flo and I would sit in front of the window in our living room every Friday, our father's payday, and wait for him to come home. We knew that it would be a while before Daddy came home, so we often went outside to play while we waited. One day, while we were out playing, I kept thinking to myself, I'm finally going to get that one pair of shoes I had been asking for and needing for so long. It was almost 9 o'clock, so we knew it was time to make our way back into the building. We used to call this apartment building the big house because it had a huge iron fence around it that caused it to resemble a prison. There was a man named Mr. Goodrich who was the caretaker of the building, and he would make sure that everyone was inside the building before the street lights came on. I remember Flo and I used to find old nasty panties all over the big yard. Ew. We used to laugh about it because we knew that Mr. Goodrich was going to be boiling mad when he saw those panties lying out there. We knew all about sex at a young age from listening to our peers, so we knew how those panties came to be all over the big yard. That's so dirty. Mr. Goodrich forced us to get ourselves back upstairs to our apartment. I flopped down and pressed my face against the window pane. Flo and I had resumed our virtual, our ritual. Is that the right? I keep pronouncing stuff wrong. Of watching our for Daddy from our big dining room window. Suddenly, a car came to a screeching stop almost instantly in front of the building. We were bewildered when we saw two men emerge from the car and toss what appeared to be the lifeless body of our father to the curb. He lay there as if in a state of lethargy. I looked at Flo and tears began to pelt my cheeks and mouth. I prayed that Daddy was okay. I felt so much hurt and pain upon seeing our father being treated in this manner. We had never seen this happen to our dad before. I felt scared. I sat there for a moment, tasting the salty liquid from my tears as my stomach began to twist and turn. Before I knew it, I began to scream out for my daddy. Please let my dad be all right. Please. Our father looked so helpless. I just wanted to pick him up off that cold ground. I wondered what we were going to do because I knew there would be nothing left for food. I could see that his pockets had been turned inside out. In my heart, I knew that getting a new pair of shoes was out of the question. I just stared at our father's comatose body through the window. Flo took action and yelled for Mama to come out of the kitchen. I can still hear the sound of her screeching voice as she yelled, Mama, Mama, hurry, hurry. Look at what those guys did to Daddy. Flo, my mother, and I all went outside to help our father into the house. I looked down and noticed that his right foot was missing a shoe. I can only guess that when his so called friends had tossed his body from the car, the shoe had fallen off. I began to look around for the shoe, but it was no place to be found. Now, both Daddy and I would need a new pair of shoes. My spirits were lower even further when I returned upstairs and looked into the bedroom. Daddy lay face down on the bed where my mother and Flo had placed him. His pants pockets were still torn inside out, and my mother stood over him wearing a look of defeat. I knew that we would experience yet another week of hunger and pain as a result of our father's alcoholism. She made it seem like he died or something. Whenever I have a conversation with anyone about raising children, I always tell them that you have to be real careful with children because children never forget what takes place in their environment, especially unpleasant situations they may encounter. Yeah, watching our father drink throughout my childhood had a dramatic effect on my life as a child and as an adult. As years went by, I learned a lot about alcoholism and its effects. For many years, I believed that our father's drinking would affect Flo and me in the same manner. Only years later, I found out that it didn't. Well, I can't say that because at the end of the day, I had plenty of people in my family that drank, smoked. They probably did drugs. They did all type of stuff. And by the grace of God, I drink occasionally. I don't smoke weed or cigarettes or any of that stuff. Not saying that I haven't tried when I was younger, but I'm 30. I'll be 33 soon. I'm 32, and like I said, I drink occasionally. Unless I got money, I might get a cooler or something. I don't smoke really. The most you'll catch me smoking is if not a black and mild, I do like a hookah or one of them little vape things, but I don't smoke cigarettes, weed, none of that crazy shit. Um, it's a lot of things that people in my family done that I don't do, and people like having conversations, they'd be so shocked. Like Damien don't do this, Damien don't do that. We know we can't blame Damien because we know Damien this or Damien that. And I'm good because I see how certain people react when it comes to those things. Um, I've been in situations with cousins where they was arguing and fighting about something being misplaced, and I'm like, well, I ain't got shit to do with it because I don't drink, I don't smoke, so I know can't nobody put me in a situation. I don't ever want to be the fuck around it, to be honest. But hey, I can't stop people from doing what they want to do. I just remove myself as best as I can. Anywho, Um, I got it. Oh, okay. Anyhow, yeah, yeah, whatever. I forgot what I was reading over here, reading emails. Alright, as years went by, I learned about a lot about alcoholism. It's effects. For many years, I believed that our father's drinking would affect Flo and me in the same manner. Only years later, I found out that it didn't. I remember one day when Dad came home drunk. He ran past us and went to the bathroom. The door was open, so I decided to kind of make sure that Daddy didn't hurt himself. I was flabbergasted when I saw Daddy use the toilet and wipe his ass with the last $5 bill. When Daddy left the bathroom, why are you watching your dad wipe his butt? Walked in right behind him, just sneaking past his drunken drag to the bedroom. I had to get that money. I didn't care how much I had to endure. I was determined to retrieve that $5 bill from the toilet. I knew that if I didn't, we might not eat for the next few days. With the determination of a soldier in war, I reached in and kept telling myself over and over, I don't want to be hungry. I don't want to be hungry. I think that was the first time I made a pact with myself. I would never drink. So you telling me that you watch your daddy use the bathroom, take a poop, wipe his ass with a $5 bill, and you really dug in the toilet to get a $5 bill covered in shit because you ain't want to be hungry? After witnessing my father's drunken weekend binges, the taste of alcohol has never met my lips. Flo, on the other hand, succumbed to alcohol. She was a social drinker. Many characterized her as a depressed alcoholic. However, I knew the real Flo Ballard and the sadness she experienced throughout her singing career. During those times, Flo expressed despair at how people had constantly disappointed her. I think that Flo was hurt more than anything else. Flo often talked about how people she considered friends had failed to keep their promises. Flo didn't realize that there were evil people in the world whose sole desire was to have her join them in drinking or whatever destructive behaviors in which they wished to participate simply because misery loved company. Flo and I had both been taught this lesson by our mother and grandmother, but somewhere along the way, Flo must have forgotten. Each Christmas, our gifts usually consisted of donations in the form of a Goodfellows box. The box contained basic staples such as socks, a few candies, and various small items for a child. I can remember at 6 years old, with Christmas only days away, I heard my mother crying and yelling at my father that there was no money to buy gifts for the children. That Christmas, we got our usual Goodfellows box and somehow made it through the holidays. Some people believe that experiencing poverty at a young age will not affect a child, but I believe it provided the basis for the overwhelming pain that many of my siblings experienced in childhood. Well, reading this, I'll say this. Um, and this is not to try to bash anybody or bring up past issues, but I remember a situation where I was around some people that I was cool with at the time, and yeah, they had church donations and stuff like that. And that time they were fortunate enough to get certain things they wanted. And I remember um going through some canned goods and other things, and them looking at me like I was crazy because I was interested in eating certain shit. And I'm like, food is food. At the end of the day, people go through things where you lucky that people cared enough to give you shit like that, whether it's a bagel, whether it's canned goods and shit like that. And if y'all don't eat it, I'm not about to sit here and starve because I didn't have no money. I don't ever think I had my food stamp card at the time. If I did have a food stamp card at the time, it probably wasn't nothing on it. Um, but I ate whatever the hell was in there. I ain't give a fuck. It was what is it? The avocado chips that's like Doritos, or is it guacamole? It's something. It's some green like Doritos nacho shaped chips. It's one of them. They was good as hell. I have a lot of respect for the. Hold on. I have a lot of respect for the church because without it, our family probably would not have survived. My mother would write a note to the church parish requesting food to help our family on a daily basis, and the church workers would give us bread and cakes. We were poor but happy because we knew that we would always have each other and the love we all share. My parents expressed their gratitude to the church. They were never too busy for the church, and when they, where's my phone? I have a lot of respect for the church because without it, our family would not have survived. Uh, my mother would write a note to. I already read that. We were poor but happy because okay, read that. My parents expressed their gratitude to the church. They were never too busy for the church, even when they were scraping up money for the next meal. They believed in God, so it was a priority for us to attend church on a regular basis. When we attended Bible school, we were always on time for hot chocolate and donuts. That was the part I liked best of all because it was a real treat. I'm gonna have to come back. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna have to come back because let me see what he want. He always calling.